Okay, you know what? Let me just double check that you can hear this.
Welcome to Pixels and Puppets, the
Jamie says yes. Andrew, you'd hear that?
That's the thing that makes us go.
Okay, good. All right, I'm just gonna. Everything seems to be working and nothing has crashed. I can see all the channels. I'm going to just fucking hit the launch button. We're SpaceX in it here, boys. We're just going for it.
Welcome to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet Podcast, the only podcast to combine the subjects of gaming, tech, media, and puppets for no easily explainable reason.
It is March 14th, 2025. You are the internet. I am Kevin Blades. My pronouns are he, him, and this is episode 5 of season 3 of Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet Podcast. Joining me are my co-hosts. His pronouns are he, him. It's Jamie, aka Scumboy.
Why, hello.
And his pronouns are he, him. It's Andrew, aka Bad Phantom.
Actually, my name is now Coffee McGee.
Is it? Why?
I've been coughing for 6 to 8 weeks now, and it's never going to stop.
Are you still sick?
I'm not sick, but the cough is still there. I did a week of antibiotics, and I've still got the right ear plugged up a little bit, and I've still got a little bit of a cough, and I don't know.
I'm did you in?
I don't know, man.
This has been your bi-week or tri-weekly, in this case, Andrew Clog update.
Jesus.
Yeah, we're remote yet again. Despite the fact that we were gonna record in person, but then Jamie got a cold and is getting over the cold, but it's circulating around Jamie's household. So we thought, discretion is the better
abundance
part
of
valor.
Caution and not wanting to give anyone else a miserable cold.
And we appreciate it.
We'll do it remotely.
God just doesn't want Jamie to see the toy that I got.
Uh-oh.
It's true.
I literally haven't had even a head cold since before COVID.
That's great.
Like that.
Try to keep it that way.
Yes, this is good. It's better to not. Guess what? Better to not get sick. Turns out that's.
But.
Oh no! What?
But.
What?
Aside from head colds, Kevin and I did a thing last week.
You sure did.
So yeah, as you may notice, the podcast is a week later than it normally would have been, and that was because last week was full, so we just decided to push it forward. The weekend was full for Jamie, and the day before the weekend was full for Jamie and me because we went to a concert. We went to a show of
a physical
where
concert.
People were and everything. So we saw, of course, the one and only Kim Dracula. It was awesome. We did the meet and greet. We got the photo op, as those
Fantastic.
of you on the Discord know. Kim was lovely. It was all good and everything. But the thing I would actually want to talk about, obviously Kim was great, as expected.
I knew what to expect with Kim Dracula.
Yeah.
And they 100% delivered.
Absolutely. What I didn't realize was just like how tall, like this does not come across on the videos. Kim Dracula is very tall and slender, a very statuesque figure. It was quite striking.
And the way the videos are is kind of how the show is, very theatrical and very manic.
Yes, Kim is as theatrical as you would want them to be, and it was lovely, and it's so great. But the really great surprise was Kim is currently doing a tour, a co-headlining tour with Hanabie. And Hanabie is a Japanese metal band that is made up of 4 young women. And I hadn't heard of them before, and they kind of get lumped in with the baby metal thing. And
they're an actual metalcore, but baby metal is like Idol if metal, because none of the women in baby metal are the guitarist or the drummer or the bassist.
Yeah.
They're like the Idol experience for metal. Whereas Hanabie is a metalcore band where all the people in the band play the instruments.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't think the baby metal thing is a fair comparison because they just happen to be 4 young women. And they're also kind of in the otaku sort of culture vibe
Harajuku faction. Yeah.
But man, did they ever bring it? Like I was surprised. I did not expect to really like them, but they went on before Kim Dracula, so we got to see them, and wow, did they ever like just knock the roof off. It was amazing. And I'm like, okay, yep, you got a new fan.
I turned around and bought a shirt because their merch was directly behind us. And I'm like, this is really good. I'm getting a shirt.
And I'm literally listening to them all day. They've become my new Warframe music to listen to because, I'm playing, oh God, the name is just Komai. Komai is like the current Warframe I'm playing, and who is all puppet themed, but also Japanese puppet themed. One of her skills is bunraku, right? So there's this like synergy between the music and her, and she's got this sort of broken doll aesthetic, and it's very synergistic with the music.
You do not expect the Cookie Monster vocals from the small Japanese woman who is fronting the band.
She just brought it. It was just like, and the level of musicianship was just like, they are tight. Like they know their stuff. They are very good. And
their current drummer is used to be a drum instructor, and she is so good. I've spent a lot of time on the Wikipedia on the bus ride to Aurelia reading about Hanabie.
I just read some of that today. Did you read the thing where it's like, so the band before them, Crystal Lake, also, while the music was, I mean, for my ear, it was kind of like, it was just fine. It was just your standard sort of metalcore stuff. But they were very active and animated, and they were very like, they were just into it, and that was enjoyable. They were kind of
positive too, which was great.
Yeah, they had a good vibe. They got the crowd going. They were very, I appreciated,
very big about this being a community, and we help each other up.
But apparently it was like one of the people, the guitarist in Crystal Lake, like at one point Hanabie was like, we're going to give up, and it was like the guitarist or something in Crystal Lake went, no, you're not giving up, you got something, you keep going. And now they're touring with it. It's such a nice story. It's a very heartwarming kind of thing. So there we go, heartwarming heavy metal story.
But it was a great show.
It was fantastic. I'm really
times.
glad I went. I have this really weird, like Jamie will tell you, I have bailed on as many concerts as I have gone to. And I came close. It was a heck of a day that day, but I still powered through and went to, and man, so this was no fault of anybody's, really, but it was really cold that day. Yeah. And it was the fault of the promoter who sent out an email telling us to be there like half an hour earlier than we should have been.
Yeah.
So we had to stand outside for half an hour, and I almost died.
There was a severe wind across the Danforth.
It was nasty, and I came like minutes to just bailing because like I can't deal with this anymore. And it's only since I've lost the weight that I can feel the cold. But when I do, it's bad. I understand what everybody's been talking about all this time, and I never got it before. Now I get it. When you're too cold, it sucks. And
get fat, be warm.
There is one thing to say for it, and that's probably it. Now, the problem is, of course, I still hate being too hot. So it's only a negative. I've only added a negative.
There's the extremes are now no good.
Yeah. I got to have just the right temperature. Otherwise I'm unhappy. But yeah. But anyway, I did power through. I'm like, I'm all the way here. We're about to get a photo op with Kim Dracula. I can't leave. I have to stay here.
And they pity let us in a little bit early to warm us up. So
yeah, no, the Dufferin Music Hall was or Danforth Music Hall, sorry. Dufferin. Yeah. No. Danforth Music Hall was lovely, and they did the best they could. They didn't realize the promoter had told us to come there that early. So yeah. Promoter, the fuck off promoters. This is the lesson. Anyway, how are you, Andrew? We've been talking a lot.
Well,
congested.
Nah, not even congested. It's just like I feel like there's just damage, so I just cough because of the God only knows how raw it is in there. But whatever, fuck it. Who cares?
It's been 3 weeks. Have you done anything interesting that isn't tech or video game related? No, is the answer to that question.
God, I wish I had a better answer. I mean, this is the guy who did a fucking 12-night cruise, the Panama, in January, so or February. So
You've-
I
you
guess
had
I'm
your
not
fill.
allowed to do anything for multiple weeks.
That's fair.
I have to
That's absolutely
become
fair.
inert and just be, and try to consume media and
Try
be.
and not always succeed to consume media.
Yeah.
And then Jamie went on to do more stuff on the weekend, so that's why we pushed the podcast to this week. So this was scheduled.
We caught a bus to Aurelia, which 2.5 hours north of Toronto, and we saw Ben Nichols, the singer for Lucero, do 2 acoustic sets of extremely unplanned stuff. He was like asking the audience, well, what do you guys want to hear?
I got nothing. What do you want?
And in between the end of the first show, my partner asked for the song Sweet Little Thing. And then the second show, he goes, I don't know if she's here, because the lights were in his eyes. You couldn't see. But somebody asked me for this one, so he played that, and it was really nice.
Hang on, I gotta fire up the YouTube real quick and see if I can remember this.
Well, at one point,
Starts trying to learn it.
he played a song, and he's like, wait, what's the lyrics? And everyone was yelling the next lyric, and then somebody was telling him what the chord progression was for that part. He's like, oh, yeah, no, I remember. So, a lot of the back
Why
catalog
don't you come
came
up here
out.
and play this? 'Cause
Yeah.
I'll go
It's
watch
cute
you.
for a while, and then you're just like, what am I paying for?
No, it was excellent, because it was all like deep cuts and such. So, and 90% of it he just cracked out, and then there's just that one song I guess they hadn't played in quite a while. So
You can't fault them for that. It's just there's so much to remember,
yeah,
and
no,
the
it
life
was,
of a musician isn't easy. I keep thinking about, like, when you see, like, for example, the level of performance that we saw that night, and then 2 nights later they're doing it again in a different city. Like,
Yep.
every
Yep.
goddamn night they're doing that. How do you
Yeah.
do that?
Yeah. How do you keep the energy up?
Yeah, just how did your voice hold out? Like,
Yeah,
it's
Yeah, no,
amazing.
training. That's you got to go through vocal training for that. But yeah, no. At the end of the first night, Ben walked straight forward and just shook my hand, because I happened to be sitting right in front of him. Like, oh, hi, how's it going?
Hey, thanks for coming
That's
out.
where you got the cold, right there. That was the moment.
Probably.
You identified it. You got a rock and roll cold.
And the boogie woogie fever and the rock and roll cold.
That's it. Okay, I think that's probably good for the intro. You guys good? Shall we move on?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to remember what all these buttons do. Let's see. The stinger is there, and the puppet pit button is there. Okay, here we go. We are going to take a quick break, and we will be back with the puppet pit.
You have entered an alternate dimension. A dimension of fleece and fur, of foam and industrial adhesives. So I hope you have good ventilation. A signpost up ahead. Watch your step. You have just stumbled into the Puppet Pit.
Welcome to the Puppet Pit, where we talk about the puppet side of Operation Puppet for the last 3 weeks, in this case. I don't want to alarm you, but I just remembered to hit record on the Roadcaster. and for reasons that we will get into in Gizmo Town, that may be a problem. But
I
if
mean,
if the
fingers are
podcast
crossed.
starts here,
Yes.
I will explain later why that is.
just know that we went to some concerts.
We went to some concerts. Anyway,
And
hi.
I'm still sick. Well, I'm not sick, but I still got a cough.
Andrew's coughing, and Jamie was sick, but is now not sick, but wants to make sure that we doesn't get anybody else sick, so we're recording remotely, and everything is fine now. How are you, anyway?
And we have a new prime minister.
And I guess we do, right? Yeah, that person.
We didn't talk about that.
The Carney. I wanted Mark Cerny, and they misread the note. I wanted the guy who made the PlayStation. Anyway, welcome to the Puppet Pit, where we're, in theory, talking about puppets and what
Allegedly puppets.
allegedly puppets. What I've been doing for the past couple of weeks. Hang on, I'm gonna crank
I
up.
saw allegedly puppets at Lee's Palace.
They were good. They opened for I got nothing. I got no indie bands at the top of my head because I'm me. But there have been some puppets in the past 3 weeks, and I even wrote them down because I couldn't remember, because it's been 3 weeks, and you can't expect me to remember past 4 hours. That's impossible. And nobody can do that. So, since the last podcast, in which there was the previous 2 Greeblies, there's been a live hands furry monster with eyebrow mech, pink, which was really nice. And in fact, we did a build stream where I was making that one, and I was deciding what color the eyebrows were, and I had originally planned to do them either black or dark brown. And then I pulled out a scrap of like pink fur that is the last bit of pink fur, like really hot pink, like really like neon pink. And I held it up and I'm like, nope, that's it. Eyebrows are now hot pink. So that was a thing we decided on the build stream spontaneously, which was quite fun. So there was that. There was a Neef. And then this week there were 2 Nurnees. And the Nurnees turned out surprisingly good. Very good. I hate rigging my own bell. No, I don't. I have to. I have to make a living here, folks. You
have no choice.
This is what I do. If I say, you know what, I made some things and they were crap. If I ever make something that's crap, it doesn't go up on the store. Surprise, surprise. So anything that gets sold is something that I think I can be proud of, and I am definitely proud of the 2 Nurnees that I did this week. One of which was a commission. So that's already been boxed up and ready to go. And the other one was just like, usually because I do stuff in batches, right? So if I'm going to make one, I'll make another, unless it's, a big thing like a furry monster, in which case I can only do one a week. So that's that. But, the Nurnees are really good. And I realized, as I was making these ones, so normally, the way you do a pattern is you'll mirror it. You'll do a left and right. And so you always end up with a center seam. But I realized at some point that because the Nurnees have a fairly flat face, they're kind of a cone head, Bert shape kind of a thing. And so their face is fairly flat. And so when you have a surface like that, that's relatively flat, you can actually get away with mirroring the pattern. And so that's what I did with these 2 Nurnees, was I mirrored the pattern up to a point where the curve of the head starts. And so the actual center seam doesn't start until about the forehead. And so it's really nice because there's literally no seam on the face at all. And I think that's one of the things that sells these 2, was that since there's no nose or anything to cover up a seam, I don't have to seam blend. It's just there. There's no seam blending because there's no seam. So they turned out really nice.
The eyes on both of them are extremely good.
Yeah, and so they're all the 3D printed things. And I did like the black rim, which I think is also really important for this particular model. And it's something that Bert has as well. If you look at the difference between Ernie's eyes and Bert's eyes, other than the shape, Bert's eyes have a little black rim around the edge, and Ernie's eyes don't. And I think that's important for the head shape. Why, I can't really explain. It's just something about the shape yields to that.
The yellow one looks like a very wide-eyed kid.
Yeah.
It's got very like child vibes, and the blue one, like I said, gives Moki Fraggle.
Very Moki
vibes.
Fraggle. So it was that one was a custom commission for a member of the Operation Puppet family that I still haven't got permission to say who it is, so I won't say who it is. Although I think they listen to the podcast. Anyway, shout out you. But the 2 requests that were for this commission was one, that they had sleepy eyes. Well, one was the color, the light blue color. It's for their daughter. And so sleepy eyes, and also if I could, long hair, although that wasn't like, if I can't, then that's fine. We can still just go with regular, normal sort of fur style hair. But I'm like, I've done a couple of things with wig style hair before. It's like, okay, you know what? I can probably find something that'll at least get there. So I went looking around for what could I get, and I ended up buying a fairly inexpensive costume wig. And the interesting thing about, and I'm just learning about this side of things, so this is all new to me as well. But the way that at least cheap wigs are put together is they're done in what are called wefts. And wefts are sort of strips of hair. And those strips of hair are kind of layered on top of each other. And the way that a relatively inexpensive wig is done is basically there's fewer wefts than there are in a more expensive professional wig. But they're all kind of stitched onto a netting, and that netting kind of sits like a skull cap. And depending on the length and coverage of the hair, it will have different sort of quadrants. So there'll be like, the crown of the head and the sides of the head and the back of the head. And so all I ended up doing was taking the relatively cheap wig, which doesn't have a lot of weft, so you want to be careful about how much you trim it down. But I just trimmed out the bit that was the crown of the head. So you still have the part, and that's the difficult part, of course, because where the wefts go together, that's where the seam is. And you don't want to ever see the netting or the seam or anything like that. You want to make it look like the hair is sitting naturally on the head. So I had to be very careful about not cutting through that. So I just cut out the little bit that was the crown of the head, and that ended up fitting perfectly onto the head of the puppet. And then I stitched it on. Normally what I would do in a situation like this is I would 3D print a skull cap, and then I would glue it onto the skull cap and then glue the skull cap to the head, because that's quick. But this one, I'm like, the problem, of course, with that is it's basically a one-way ticket. Like, that's it. Because you're putting glue on the head, it's destructive, effectively. You can't take it off without destroying the puppet. But if you stitch it on, then at the very least, if something goes wrong or you ever want to change it, you can pop the stitches and pull it off, and you'll have a clean separation between the two. And I'm like, well, this is a repeat client who's a member of the family. I'm going to put in the extra effort. So I sat there and I hand stitched the wig to the head. Took a while, and let me tell you, that ain't fun, because you're fighting the hair. Obviously, the hair wants to get down into the thread. So you're trying to do, like, each individual stitch is like a whole process to get through, and you got to do this around the entire circumference of the head. So anyway, it took like a couple of hours of hand stitching, put in a podcast, that kind of thing. It's fine. Those are normally, hand stitching is my relaxed time, although this wasn't very relaxing because I was literally fighting the puppet as I was trying to, put the thing together. But got there in the end. It looks, in my opinion, very good. And the nice thing about it is the way that the hair ended up just naturally falling. Because the Nurnees are a cone head shape, I made sure I put the part, first of all, I put it very high up on the head, and I made sure that I put the part at the very center, so when the hair falls across the head, it naturally wants to fall in two segments. And so what you can do then performance-wise, and I didn't shoot any video with it, which I really should have done. I hope the client will shoot some video and share it, because it moves really great. You know how Janice, when the performer performs Janice, they can kind of flop her hair around,
the head
and
back
stuff.
and forth, and
you can do that with this puppet.
It curves underneath the chin towards the neck, and it kind of it frames the face.
And she could also do like the Miss Piggy thing of like brushing the hair out of her face and stuff. It yields a lot of really good performance opportunities that I am quite enchanted with. And I think I'm probably going to do more of this kind of thing, because it really, I was like, oh.
It looks very good.
This ended up really good. And let me tell you, speaking of heavy metal, you can headbang with that puppet and it looks real good. So there we go. That is what's been happening. Also, there have been, in the past 3 weeks, 2 build streams. Didn't do the build stream last week because that was the day of the Kim Dracula Hanabie concert, and I didn't sleep well that day, and I'm like, I got enough spoons to do 2 things. I can finish my work and do one more thing, and it's either going to be stream or go to the concert, and I really, really, really needed to go to the concert. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to call off the stream, just to make sure I can get my work done and go to the concert. So
I think that was a good call.
I think it was the right call. Yeah. So anyway, but there was a build stream yesterday, and it was all lovely and fine. And folks, the regulars showed up, and everyone was there, and it was all good. And we had a fun time, and it went much faster than I realized. By the time I was like, I plan to do all of these things on stream, and I managed to get like 2 of the things in before it was like, oh wait, it's noon. It's time to go.
And nobody died this time.
But not this time. We'll try harder next week. But anyway, as usual, operationpuppet.com for all the links, join the Discord, etc. And yeah, we are carrying on. I'm not actually sure what I'm going to do next week because I had planned to do a thing that I don't end up, as I checked my stock, I don't have the materials that I thought I did.
Sweetums.
Yeah, no. Although not that far. We'll talk about it on the next podcast, depending on how things go. Yeah, Son of Sweetums. I was thinking about going out today because I finished everything I needed to do yesterday. I was thinking about going out today, and here's a problem currently, and this does relate to our political situation currently. Getting materials is getting harder and is not going to get better. So I have to start looking at what I can do. I mean, we did talk about this a little bit on the previous podcast, but I need some fur of a particular color to do the next project. And I thought I had enough. I definitely don't have enough. So I got to go find some. The place that I usually get my fur domestically that usually has this color, guess what? Doesn't have it. So I got to go hunting around this city. I got to go to fabric stores, walk into a physical store, talk to human beings, and like see if I can make some connections to like go, okay, I need faux fur in a variety of colors on a regular basis. Talk to me. What you people have like import connections and stuff? What can we arrange?
Or you could switch to real fur and find these creatures that have these colors.
That
and hunt them.
That would, although not impossible, raise prices quite a lot. You know,
yeah.
I'd have to get a cabin in the woods.
Yeah, and then have to tan the furs
and a gun license, and all that's
bow hunting.
Just go Monster Hunter Wild.
I'll just bare teeth. Just
whip up a great sword.
I'll eat what I kill.
Those insect glaives.
Get a cat to cook your food.
Exactly. Okay. Anyway, other than that, business as usual. We'll figure it out for next week. So stay tuned because I actually have no idea what I'm going to be doing for the next 2 weeks, but I'll sort it out come Monday. Other than that, that's it for the Puppet Pit, and I think we're going to take an actual break? ? And we will be back with Gizmo Town.
The sky above the port was the color of a YouTube video hit with a copyright takedown. Around the rainy streets, people huddled with neon umbrellas and impractical goggles. Here we fight the corporate arcologies and get excited about phones. Welcome to the mean streets of Gizmo Town.
Welcome to Gizmo Town, where we talk about tech culture, and all things related to tech. It's
I guess
surprisingly quiet. Somebody say something. You're still there, right?
We didn't want to interrupt.
It was the moody wind.
There was a meditative moment. There always is. I have chosen poorly. Turns out.
You've chosen extremely well.
Yeah, but not talking is a bad thing for a podcast. It kind of is.
Kids love dead air.
It's true. This is the ASMR of all podcasts.
That's right.
That's us, what we're about. Anyway, starting, of course, as always, with a very thin and flaccid.
It's a deck nook.
Well, it's a couple of things.
There's a couple of things in the deck nook. Although it is getting harder and harder to find things to put in the deck nook. Which is expected. I mean, you know what? Until the next deck, it's probably going to just be downhill from here. But anyway, okay. So I am confused about this first thing. So maybe y'all can help me. So Xbox handheld rumors are strong. Will Asus be making it? I saw another headline that said no, there is no Xbox handheld this year, at least.
This is why we're in the fun times.
Central was saying strong confidence on sources. So not anything that's official, not anything that they've come up with, but that there's going to be one of the big OEMs making a PC handheld that will be Xbox branded.
Right.
And the simple truth is the hardware it's ready.
Sure.
It's ready to have all you got to do is take any one of these handhelds and slap an Xbox logo on it, and you can call it the Xbox.
It
handheld.
really is just a branding thing at this point. It's just like
so many of the titles on Game Pass will run quite cheerfully on a.
One of the
handheld.
thoughts is that it would tie in with a version of Windows that is more focused, not stripped down, but more focused to running on a handheld device like that.
I would welcome that development.
Yes.
Yeah, that's the software is probably the only thing holding it back right now.
Provided that because in order to do that, you would need to debloat at least a little bit, right? Like,
yeah. No, I mean it would be more specific, like everything specific to the chipset built in, and stripping out a lot of the, not the general purpose, but a lot of the just the like, you probably don't need to bring in Paint. You can install Paint if you want to after the fact.
I
like,
would
pull out a lot of the extra stuff.
I absolutely agree, and I also suspect that would have a hard time passing some layer of Microsoft signing off
if they
on
throw Xbox on it, and it's for this handheld, I think they'd probably be able to push it out.
And the Xbox itself runs on a stripped down version of
Yeah,
Windows. doesn't it?
there's
So, I mean,
Windows under
it's a side move.
that hood. So
It's true.
So I don't think it's asking that much for it to run. But I guess it's just a question of would it be running the PC version of Game Pass or would it be running an Xbox version of Game Pass?
Mhm.
I don't expect that. I think they'll lean more towards the PC side.
absolutely, yeah.
But
They would kinda
'cause
have
it'll be just
to.
easier. Yeah, exactly. It'll just be easier.
Yeah,
And I mean,
also
the
because
performance is there.
they want to sell Game Pass Ultimate. That is their thing, right? So
And
you
this-
can't
yeah.
sell Game Pass Ultimate if you can't play PC games on the handheld, right?
Yeah, and the story ties into the leakers talking about the next generation of the Xbox hardware, which is supposedly slated for 2027. But I mean, that's just a logical place for that to happen.
Sure.
It's not
Yeah.
set in stone by any means, but I mean, 27 is the most likely time when they would try to do that.
We're already-
I still am not
already
convinced.
Talking about
they're gonna
27,
have her.
28 for the next generation of consoles. So
I think they just want, like, I don't know whether it's the people inside or whether they're doing calculated leaks. I think they want to try to kill the Xbox's getting out of hardware rumors.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like,
Because I really thought they were.
putting games on the PlayStation 5 just means you sell more of your games. It doesn't mean you're necessarily getting out of the hardware business, and I think they want to get ahead of that.
yeah,
And the whole I'd like to know how well the push to have Xbox on like televisions is going, where you just have the cloud Xbox. All you got to do is pair your controller to it.
I think like there's a version of the LG, like one of the LG type ones you can install, like not Game Pass, but like the Xbox app on it, and you can stream.
Yeah, it's just cloud
from
gaming,
the
but
cloud.
it's just you literally connect your controller to the television and you're playing Xbox.
Yeah.
But nobody talks about it, so I don't know how successful it's been. I don't feel like it's been a game changer in any way. I don't know. I think most people are still happy to continue to use the system.
I'm not sure how many
I don't think they're
radars
pulling a lot of casuals in.
Yeah, and that's exactly what that is, right? Because like this is for people who buy their TV and who use the built-in apps, right?
Yeah.
Who does that?
You still got to buy a controller. So
And
there's at
the
least
other
that
thing is,
barrier to entry.
you're buying a fairly high-end TV, and you also have to have a pretty good internet, and you're probably going to have a console at that rate.
Yeah.
Like if those two boxes are checked, you're probably buying a PS5 or an Xbox to go with it.
The Venn diagram doesn't match up here.
Yeah.
Like,
but they don't talk
who's-
about those numbers, so I don't know. I'd like to think that the more people are doing it.
The
but
marketing,
anyway.
the marketing thing about this is an Xbox and it's literally every screen ever. I'm not sure that
that's
was a
still-
success. Like the
Well,
the
I haven't
messaging
seen
there
that
is
used
like
lately.
Xbox means nothing. Is what the messaging
Kind
on
of.
that is, and it's like, well then, what is an Xbox? Obviously, if everything's an Xbox, then nothing is an Xbox, right? Like that's.
But if they've already got reports where people are denying it, or Microsoft is denying it, that's understandable. I mean,
Sure.
obviously, it's too soon for them to say anything anyway. I mean, you can't take anything anybody says for face value. at this
No,
point.
no.
They're all going to lie to your face until they announce it. So, it's the background and it's all you got.
It's all about the clicks,
sketchy.
baby.
But this person evidently has a history of success, so
Yeah.
there's that.
I
And it also makes
honestly
perfect
hope
sense.
that there is something. Like I really want, as you know, I want competition in this space. I think that's always
Right.
a good thing.
Absolutely.
But what that ends up being, we'll see.
While I'm looking at it, I should also mention the Microsoft Copilot for Gaming, which is something they really want to push.
you're hurting my heart. What are you doing?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised they're pushing for this. I mean, all of these companies have an entire section dedicated to making AI happen, and whatever, I get it. But the idea that you're going to get pop-ups, because PlayStation already has a similar thing on theirs, where it's not AI generated, but it will still occasionally give you a pop-up saying, "Hey, do you want to watch a video on how to get through this?" But
And guess what? Nobody uses.
Well, that's it. Again, I don't know what the actual interaction is on that, but
Zero.
the idea that you
I
could
can
pop
tell
up
you
your
right now,
Copilot,
zero.
you could click a button and ask Copilot, "How do I get past the demon in this game?" And then it'll just
Can you
fucking tell
play
you.
Dark Souls for me, please?
What's the best way to take out the beast? It says on their demo line, because the people will use it.
There's assistive gaming there that could be nice for people that aren't fully capable of handling like a Souls or something like that.
Sure.
Pressing the install button. The last slide says, "I want to get back into Age of Empires 4. Can you install it? Downloading now. Want a recap of where you left off?" I mean, shit, man. I gotta say that last chunk might actually be useful. I mean, imagine you come back to Witcher 3 for the 7th time because you try it for a bit, and then you come back and you're like, "I don't remember how to fight," and Copilot pops up and says, "You want a quick tutorial?" You go, "Yeah, give me a
You're
quick
not
tutorial."
wrong. One of the things I've always wanted in every fucking game ever is like, okay, I stepped away from this for 2 months. I'm gonna come back. What the fuck? How do I play this game? Like, what is going on?
So
I,
shit on it, but
however,
there's an application.
I don't know that large language models are the
Right.
answer to that.
Absolutely,
Right?
absolutely.
You can't trust anything a large language model tells you. You can't. So, like,
I mean,
what's the actual utility here?
We're still several steps away from being able to hand the controller to your robot and go, here, beat this guy for me.
Yeah.
And then give me back the controller.
Unless
And
that
it does it.
robot has been trained specifically on that game for like
Yeah, I mean, I'm talking
742 hours.
days.
You know, like,
It just pulls down some hot streamers
Yeah,
feed and learns how to
exactly.
play the game in seconds and just blinks a lot like in the movies, and then all of a sudden it's elite gamer.
I mean, yes, I am
anyways.
extremely cynical about all of this
Oh God,
shit.
yes.
But
Yeah.
you
they're,
have to
they're
be.
once again they're pushing technology that's not ready.
Yeah.
It's still
and also
it's
that
still,
nobody wants, and that like it's
Yeah.
just because you've invested billions of dollars in this shit, and now you feel like you have to find a utility, so you have to put marketing around it to try and convince people that it's cool. Like
Yeah.
it's circling the fucking drain, guys. Like, just move on.
But going
we
back
want
to
to
the-
play the games. We do want to do
Yeah.
this. This is fine. You don't need
Jumping back to the Xbox handheld, I mean, the idea of Asus making it, I mean, that's a logical choice. I mean,
Yeah.
the ROG Ally is a solid piece of kit.
Yep.
All it would take is a side move for them to just slap an Xbox brand on that. And somebody pointed out the fact that, Lenovo basically slapped the Steam sticker on their system,
Sure.
the Legion,
Yep.
and said, "Here you go. There's your Steam box." So it's not that big a stretch to think
RG
that
Ally
Asus would do
Xbox
it.
Edition. Done.
Yeah.
Right?
yeah,
like,
exactly.
done. That's it. You're good.
And it doesn't even have to. They
Put
could
the
take
Xbox
over the whole
Jewel
brand.
on it, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's because that's a Windows platform anyway. So it's an easy move to just make that. I was honestly shocked that they didn't do that. I mean, I'm sure I'm on the record on the podcast back
Yeah, I remember you
when the
saying.
ROG Ally came out. I said that I'm surprised that it's not an Xbox already, but they just didn't feel like it was quite ready for branding yet. But
Sure.
obviously that's I think that's going to change, and I wouldn't be surprised to see this hitting by the end of the year.
Yeah, and then, like I said, that would be great. I welcome it. Please do more things in this space. But speaking of surprises, this is a real shocker. Assassin's Creed Shadows, of all things.
Downplaying the deck publicly,
Ubisoft
is like, no, now it runs on it. We're good.
And it got the verified badge is a whole other, like, maybe.
Now you got to support it.
Yeah. But yeah, Assassin's Creed Shadows is getting deck verified. Apparently, we'll see what the performance is, but like, that's.
I haven't seen any reports on Valhalla running, so I don't know how. I'm assuming Valhalla runs fine, so I don't think Shadows is going to be much of a jump from.
I don't remember if I ever tried to run either Odyssey or Origins on my deck, but I can't imagine it would have been great. But nevertheless, I mean, if you are happy with 30, maybe,
yeah.
But still, the fact that they're going like, we're deck certified. Sure.
Valhalla is playable.
Okay.
Steam Deck compatibility is playable.
All right. All right.
So, it's perfectly cromulent.
Yeah. Well, but I think the larger kind of thing around this is the fact that matters, right? Like the fact that that matters enough for them to make the statement that it is
or to jump through whatever hoops that Valve requires for the actual.
It would be funny if the delay actually gave them time to work on that, and they went, actually, side note, we now run on the deck.
I mean, it doesn't load textures, and there's 6 polygons on screen, but
I mean, if they're putting some polish on the thing, it wouldn't take much for a couple people to go and dial in some settings to make it like have a deck preset.
It's absolutely doable. This is the other thing that like. We're so focused on like ray tracing and all this, and I think all that stuff is important. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to like downplay the importance of that stuff. I think we need to push the medium forward, and that is a good and important thing. But there are also ways to do this kind of thing that can embrace older and less powered hardware. Wherein like I keep thinking of like Elder Scrolls Online, for example, gigantic MMO runs fantastic on the Steam Deck. Literally doesn't spin up the fans at 60 frames per second.
Yeah.
If you can do that, you can do this. Like it is absolutely within scope to do this kind of thing. And also have all of the bells and whistles for higher end hardware, right? So I think you just need to expand your scope of what actually you're going to support. Unfortunately, that does mean more development time, clearly, and that does mean more humans working on the game, which also means more expense, and therefore that is the reticence of the industry to do this. But it is absolute. There are no technical reasons why you can't do this. It's literally a financial decision. So, but it's surprising that they did actually make that choice. So I think that speaks to the impact of what the Steam Deck has done, right?
It's an install base that's worth chasing.
Yeah, and that is genuinely surprising. But it also leads into our next story. The hours played on the Steam Deck were 64% in 2024. Who added that?
Up year over year. So Valve released a year in review highlighting all of its achievements in 2024. According to Valve, Steam Deck players spent 330 million hours playing in 2024, which was a 64% increase over 2023.
And that was just Kevin playing Warframe.
That was me playing Balatro.
I occasionally, I do occasionally play Warframe. Honestly, I can't play a lot. I was talking about this before, that it's literally just the screen size. It's just too small. I can't see what's going on the screen. It runs great. I can't parse what's happening on the screen because it's just too small.
330 million hours across the Steam Deck installed base being
That
played
is impressive.
in 2024.
Well, I think it
I
was.
think Balatro was a big chunk of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, no, Balatro was a huge thing. But also, like, I think it was on a recent Tech Pod, Brad and Will made a Tech Pod. Shout out Brad and Will, who definitely listen to this podcast.
Absolutely.
But they were talking about the problems with, like, you know, Linux gaming and the cheating thing and the anti-cheat and how, like, Epic will never, ever, ever support the Steam Deck because not just, I mean, you could technically do it. You could support anti-cheat on Linux. Lots of games already do it. Tim Epic won't ever do that because he hates Steam. He's in a fight with Steam. So
Tim Sweeney is a weenie. So.
Yeah. Tim Sweeney the weenie is in a fight with Gabe.
Every launcher and store on the planet. Yeah.
So they will never. I mean, they're good. They're porting Fortnite to Windows ARM before they're going to support the Steam Deck and Linux. Therefore, right? So it's like, okay, their agenda's clear, but like Will Smith was saying, like, just because of like hardware prices, if I had like some kids who wanted to like play Fortnite and I could just buy them a Steam Deck rather than buy them a fucking PC, like a gaming PC, even a low end gaming PC, I would absolutely do that, right? There is no question which option I would pick. So it's like, yeah, of course, there is an entry point with things like the Steam Deck that is really important at this stage in history, but isn't necessarily being served by some of the big players strictly because of like finances and politics. That's really what it comes down to, right? And it's unfortunate, but that's where we are. However, we see that there is still this groundswell of like, people love their decks, and it is specifically the deck. For some reason, whatever that reason is, it is specifically the deck. And yes, other handhelds have gained steam, forgive the phrasing, but it is still, you know, and I think also because probably they were the early players who got it right, you know. So who knows where we go from here, but that is encouraging, the fact that the numbers have been so up.
It's a big increase between 2023, which is, the deck had been around for over a year at that point, to 2024. I mean, that's a big increase.
And I gotta say, like, it is really feeling the age. Like the deck, we need a deck too. We really need a deck too, and I get why Valve is waiting. I understand their reasoning, and I respect the fact that they are holding out for the right moment. I just hope that the moment doesn't pass them by. That is the fear. But we will see. Anyway, moving on from the deck nook. And this is completely accurate. Video card manufacturer suggested retail pricing is bullshit now. That's true, because the AMD cards.
It's really been incredible. I mean, they, by and large, it's a question of, is the manufacturer, or I should say, is the reseller making their own prices now, or is this part of what they're being given from the manufacturer,
or is it the trade war?
I don't. It's pre-tariff based right now.
Columns A, B, and C.
But there was a report from a Swedish retailer that he said that they got their initial shipment of AMD cards at what was listed as the MSRP, and then the subsequent ones were given a higher price. And it was obviously a Swedish retailer, so there may have been some translation errors alone, but it's a question of, was MSRP basically just like the pre-order version, and then once they actually started showing up in stores, they were free to increase the price. With the NVIDIA cards, it certainly seemed like that they were jacking up the prices. I mean, we already have to deal with the conversion from US to Canadian dollars, which is brutal right now. But I'm looking at the 9070 cards on Canada Computers. Now, availability is one thing, but they do have MSRP listed cards. The 9070 XT, which is their better version, the gigabyte version is $869 on the website, which is the $600 US converted.
Sure.
So they're there in the 9070. The cheapest one they've got is $800. Again, not technically available. The lowest they do have a 9070.
Is more expensive. What?
No. Well, it's just because that's another thing is the different variants of the cards themselves. But I'm just saying in terms of the entry point for the cards,
right?
Is for $850 you can get a 9070. They actually have them in store in some locations.
Oh,
so
I gotcha. Right.
It's you can walk into a store somewhere in Canada and get the 9070 for $849.
Somewhere in Canada.
Yeah, that's the other thing. So
that Shack and Kamloops.
Yeah, but but it goes up. I mean, the 9070s, because they've got the overclocked editions and whatnot. So they go up to 1229 for the XFX Mercury AMD Radeon RX 9070 XT OC White Magnetic Air Edition. So you can pay
that's too many words.
They have to put that many words because there's so much extra shit on it to justify charging.
I actually
$400
want a white
more.
video card. My case is white.
Yeah,
my fans are white.
This is a white one.
I want a white one.
There's cheaper options. There's for $979 you can get an ASRock, which is the Steel Legend. So at least it's not white. $949 for the Sapphire Pure 9070. Anyway,
Pure.
So the NVIDIA cards are right out. Yeah, all the NVIDIA cards have been bullshit. I mean, it was more about it being a paper launch than the fact that the MSRP is garbage because they couldn't physically.
I mean, let's not forget
of them.
What the S and MSRP stands for.
Yeah, I mean, you could not get a 5000 series. I mean, it still kills me that I see stories on Reddit of people saying, "Oh, my wife camped out for me at the Micro Center 2 weeks after launch." And got me a 5090. Like, congratulations! You just spent $3,000 on a video card. You mega genius. Like, fuck! I still can't get over that people are lined up now. A lot of people, especially in the States, got a fucking 9070 XT on launch day. Yep. They had a shitload of stock. If you showed up, the odds are you were going to get a very, very good video card. And it embarrassed NVIDIA on some level, but on the other hand, NVIDIA doesn't give a shit because, as we've said before, they're focused on AI anyway, and the graphics card market is just a side hustle for them now.
This is absolutely the case right now with AMD or the NVIDIA. Is that like they don't necessarily really give a shit about the gaming PC video card market. To them, that's a side hustle. Right, they're focused on these like data centers and selling giant GPUs to Microsoft and Google and Amazon.
People are still killing themselves trying to get these extremely overpriced video cards. Yep, and I mean, I guess if charge what the market will bear. If some moron is willing to pay the retailer $3,000 up to $4,000 Canadian for a fucking video card, okay.
I honestly, like, this is one of those cases where I'm like, I was wrong. Like, I will absolutely admit I was wrong. I cannot believe people are willing to pay these prices for fucking video cards.
It just shatters my brain. What? And then, and on top of that, the NVIDIA cards, a lot of them are broken out of the box. They're not doing what they were supposed to.
There's the whole melting power cables
catching on fire for the third generation in a row.
Well, not just that, the ROPs, like they were supposed to have like 170 ROPs, and a lot of them are shipping with like 150, and that's an impact on your performance.
I gotta say,
for a $4,000 video card,
late to the party, but like I have started to watch some of the Gamers Nexus stuff.
And they're on top of it.
Yeah, no, they and I gotta say, like, a lot less hype than the thumbnails would suggest. Like they're genuinely thoughtful and fair and well thought out. unfortunately, like the thing that always turned me off Gamers Nexus was like the shocked guy hype thumbnails, straight up, and the the hyperbolic titles, and it's like,
you got to play the game.
I mean, that is the thing. Therefore, my channel will never go beyond what it is because I don't do that, and I can't do that.
They want the eyeballs, but they also put out a product that's worth watching.
That's the thing. It's like they actually do the work, and they are legit. So I do appreciate what they do, and they've been having very good coverage of all this stuff. And so like it's of course not as insane as the hype is, but we also ain't there. Like it is such a weird state of affairs right now with like how the hardware market is, and the fact that people are buying these, and there's so much demand for the cards that they can't keep them in stock.
Like I'm looking at Best Buy's site. If you wanted a 5000 series video card right now, you literally can't buy one.
Yeah.
They are not available. You can't even pay them the insane amount of money for one of these insane. And the 5070s have their own issues. I mean, they would sell it to you for $1,080 if they could actually get one.
And this is what
it just blows my mind.
The question I have is like, when you actually look at the numbers, they're not that great. Like the actual performance of the cards based on previous generations are just
that was the big one. The generational improvement is dog shit compared to literally every other generation before. It's barely improved.
So what is happening? Is my question. Like why are, I guess,
it feels like a psychosis.
You may not be wrong. There is something extra happening here that is not something that logic can take into account.
I mean, at least when crypto was mining your own crypto was a thing, I understood
there was an excuse there, right?
Yeah, fine. At least you're getting something out of this insanely expensive card. But now it's like, what, you going to generate AI credits with these cards? I mean, come on. For a while I've been tapped out of like, this is where I'm out, but I am even further out now. But the good news is that the AMD cards are solid. The 9070 XT is a really, really good card. It's still ludicrously expensive, but at least you're getting something for your money.
Hopefully that will calm down as supply becomes.
I don't exactly. That's that's what I said about the housing market.
Yeah,
this can't be like this forever.
Yeah, surprise. What I literally because I'm a Linux gamer. Analytics and AMD are good friends. Yeah. I had debated, do I want to move to one of these new AMD cards just because it's supported in the core? I will have an easier time now. I have had quite a good time with my NVIDIA 4080 Super, which is what I've got right now. I've never had an issue. Like any minor issue I've had, I've been able to clear up through.
It's not optimized, but it's brute force. It's an insanely powerful video card.
I will, to be completely fair and balanced, NVIDIA has made good strides in their Linux support. The new drivers are genuinely good and do work well. So I've got all of the things I want and need in my video card. And so I literally just looked at the numbers. And this was one of the things where Gamers Nexus came in really handy, was because they did a side-by-side comparison of a lot of the current and previous generation cards, my cards among them. So I was able to see a one-for-one comparison to what I would get with one of the new AMD cards versus what I'm currently getting with my NVIDIA card. And it was almost neck and neck, and occasionally would drop if I went to an AMD card. So I'm like, I don't need the headache of going.
Oh God, no! Your card is insanely powerful, and will be for years.
It's fine for now, and it will be fine for my usage for years. So I'm good. I don't have to do anything.
If somebody's been using a 1060 for the last 8 years, I can understand your frustration.
I got a 2080.
There you go. That's
He's
fun.
got my 2080.
Yes.
Yeah. So
I run two 1080p monitors. I do not need anything.
and it's good for that. Like, this is the thing. I guess this is what we were talking about before. It's like I think one of the reasons why the current thing is like there's so much demand is, in a way, there's this new push for PC building, right? That is a thing that nobody saw coming, was the fact that, like, the kids, as it were, are really into PC building. So that, I think, is what's fueling a lot of this hunger for new hardware. But those new people who are in this space don't have the experience of knowing that, like, you can make the old hardware still good and last and do things. Like, you don't actually need the latest and greatest, and they are going to need the years of experience in this space before they get to that point, right? So I think that's, Jesus Christ, I just came up with the reason. I think I just solved it. There you go. You're welcome. My job's done. But no, seriously, I think that may be at least a contributing factor to why there's so much demand for these cars right now, and why, you know, that because the PC space is growing, which is something that we did not expect to happen. That's why we're getting all this demand for these cards. And once these new people who are in this space have the experience of seeing, oh wait, you can actually do as much with older hardware, then I think we'll see the kind of correction happen, right? As time progresses. So I don't know, we'll see. That's a really, now that I think about it, and it's taken 2 martinis to get there. But now that I think about it, that's an interesting trajectory to think about, where it's like, no, it is the new people in the space that are driving this thing, and it is only because they haven't had the experience that they don't realize, oh wait, no, you don't need the latest and greatest.
Yeah,
that's a theory.
If you want an NVIDIA card right now from Best Buy, the literal best you can get is a 4060, which is an 8 gig card, and it's $448.
Yeah,
that is the best card they have available for purchase right now.
It's wild.
And 8 gigs ain't gonna cut it.
No, it absolutely won't. But that's really interesting. I think well, the time here will be the interesting tale in the end. Was like, how is this going to develop? It may fall off a cliff at some point, right? Like, because these things do tend to happen generationally, right? So like at some point, then all of the new people in this space will get it, right? And will kind of like go. And part and parcel with that is this interest in retro computing, right? Like when those two vectors meet, that's going to be the interesting inception point of where, like, oh wait, what if we tried to make the older hardware last longer? Interesting times ahead, I conjecture. But I guess we should probably move on now that we've gone there. The Great Linux Migration Check-In. So this is, okay. So as y'all know, as we talked about on the previous podcast, this is the year that Kevin goes full Linux, full time for everything. So how that's going today relates to how we're currently recording this podcast, because I can announce here now, for the first time, we are in fact recording on Linux for the first time ever. That was always the plan. This, like, literally a couple of hours before we started recording the podcast, things started happening weird on the distro that I was in, Bazite, and Audacity, which is our audio recording software. Bad things happened, and I was scrambling to figure out what they were. I have started to figure out what that is, but I am on the path and I have not yet figured out what they are. So I am now currently recording on Pop! OS. Now, here's one of the lessons of Linux. You have many distros in Linux. Some are cutting edge, some are less so, but more stable. It is in your best interests to use the distro that suits your usage case the best. If you want the best gaming performance, go with something like Bazite that will give you the best gaming performance. And that is genuinely true. As I talked about the last podcast, Bazite, I have noticed a genuine increase in my gaming performance, both in games and in OBS. OBS also runs better in Bazite. However, it is less stable. If you're on an older distro that is based on something that is running on stable branches that have older packages, like, for example, Pop! OS, which is based on Ubuntu, which is based on Debian, that will give you a more stable experience. So that's where we are currently, and that is kind of the lesson at the moment, is like, depending on what you want to do, choose the distro that's right for you. And so therefore you have to educate yourself on what the distros are and how they operate. So anyway, the TLDR is it's going fine. I've not found anything I can't do on Linux. It's just circumstantial. If I want to game, or stream, I go to Bazite. If I want to do work that I can depend on, video editing, audio editing, I'll go to Pop! OS or any Debian-based distro because I know that's going to be more stable. And that is kind of where we are. And that's all good and fine and a valuable lesson, but this is one of the important things about Linux is the fact that I have that choice. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, I can decide to just do that. And because I've got, two boot drives in my PC, I can, at boot time, I can just decide what distro I want to boot into. I'm considering adding another. Like, that. This is one of the flexibilities that it gives you. So it is not a panacea in that it's not just you pick a one thing and that will always work for all things. And this is the compromise you have to make when you come to something that is, open source or of this nature, is that it will demand something of you. It will demand some of your input, some of your thought, and some of your ability to learn things. But you can still do all of the things you want to do. It just may require a little bit more of you. But the point is, you still have those options. And if you value having those options over value having options taken away from you, right, then, this is worth something to do. But that's not for everybody. And this is something we've been talking about for a while. It's like, no, if you just want something that just works out of the box, most of the time, most of the big Linux distros will get you there. Mm-hmm. But not in every case for all things. Now, we have a bit of an edge case here, right? I'm running interesting, complex audio hardware to record this podcast in 16 tracks. And there's all kinds of really specialized stuff that we're doing.
I remember when you had to have one of 3 different wireless adapters if you wanted wireless to work under Linux.
Yeah, exactly.
There were 3 things that had drivers, and that's what you chose.
Yeah. Now, we've come a long way. So, unless you have a very specialized use case, most of the time, you're probably going to be able to get there. But it's not every time. And the more specialized your use case, the more hoops you're going to have to jump through. That is the lesson. I personally, for my own usage, feel that it's worth the effort. And no matter what frustrations I felt, and I felt a lot today, believe me, there was swearing. I physically abused my mouse at one point because I was like so angry that stuff, because we were like an hour before recording the podcast and now everything's crashing. What's going on? But nevertheless, it is still at the point where it's like, wait, if I sit down and I think about it and I figure it out, I can figure it out. And that amount of empowerment is worth so much more than anything I could have got out of, click a button and it works, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like that is so important, at least personally to me. So that is kind of where we're at with the Great Linux migration. So the other side of that is last week, one of the things I did under Bazite was I set up our streaming setup for Pixels and Puppets. And I did a test stream using the entire setup. So running both the game and the streaming software, excuse me, on the same PC. That was kind of a big ask, of course. I mean, it's got better since we've had like hardware encoding and all that kind of stuff. But again, we're talking about like running a game and running OBS with multiple scenes, with hardware encoding, streaming out to multiple endpoints. Like there's a lot of layers happening here. It did great. The only issue that I had was an audio issue that was straight up my fault, that I knew what the problem was and I forgot to correct it in one specific scene. You can go back and watch the VOD either on YouTube or on the PeerTube server, and you'll see that if it's the scene of me just talking on the webcam, the audio's messed up. If it's me in game, it's all fine. But nevertheless, I played Warframe on stream, and it went great. Everything was fine, other than that one small issue, which has already been fixed, and that's running the game and OBS on the same PC. And I was straight up impressed with how well it worked. It just handled it. So, cool. The other side of that is we are going to be doing some more game streaming, and I haven't actually talked to Jamie about this beforehand, so we're doing it live. Jamie has talked to me previously about getting a side stream set up with an RTMP server to get his screen sent to our stream so we can do like a split screen kind of situation. Today, I did in fact work on the scene where we can have that happening, where you can see your screen and my screen. So I've got the layout done. That was actually a hard part.
Yeah.
Because when you think about it, you're taking a 16 by 9 aspect ratio screen and you're trying to split that in half.
Yep.
That doesn't work. The math straight up does not work for that. You can
corner
split
to
it.
Corner is about the best I've seen.
You can
with
split
one
it into
overlapping
quads or whatever. It doesn't matter if you go side by side or vertical.
Yeah.
Either way, it's the same size screen, right?
Yep.
So what I've opted for is vertical, one person's screen on top of the other, and then our webcams off to the side, and then we've got the chat on the side. I think that probably works the best. And then we can switch to, my screen is the main screen and your screen is picture-in-picture, or vice versa, either one. But that's something we have to get to set up. So you've got to get me your endpoint.
By RTMP endpoint.
Yeah, where you're broadcasting to. But that's going to be among the next things that we do, is going to be some streaming with seeing both my screen and Jamie's screen, and Jamie on webcam as well. That's the next thing we also have to set up, is
when I'm boarding people in Railjack, you can see me running around the ship.
This was the inspiration, right? Because like with Railjack and Warframe specifically, because you were actually doing separate things in separate locations, being able to see both people's screens and what they each are doing is really valuable to the viewer.
Yeah.
Right. So that's really cool. I think that's really neat, and I really want to get that going. So we've got the layout. Actually, the hard part is done. So now we just have to figure out a time to set up and
get a media endpoint brought in.
Do all the testing before we actually go live with that stuff. There we go. That is it. That is the Great Linux migration check-in. It's going well-ish.
I mean, there's going to be bumps. You can't expect it to be smooth sailing the entirety of the time.
Exactly. And I think probably the broader point is I straight up haven't used anything other than Linux for about 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For everything, literally everything I do. And
so no Macs.
Yeah, no Macs, no PCs. I don't have Windows installed on anything I own right now. So
yeah,
I could confidently say we're good. We could go from here. It's not going to be a completely smooth journey, but we can get there. We can get to the destination that we want. So there we go. We've talked about the Xbox Series X in 2027 question mark already, which is the next show note. So I think we're actually kind of done. Anybody got anything else for the deck or for the Gizmo Town section?
I'd just like to take this time to say that AI sucks.
I mean, hey, you're talking to the guy who's completely ed-pilled here. Like, I preach the gospel of Ed Zitron. You want to talk about AI? I could scream about AI for 2 hours if you like.
No, thank you.
That would probably be a bad podcast. Yeah, AI sucks. Stop using it. It's bad for everything. Okay, I think we're going to take a break, and then we will be back with Pixels and Tokens.
Video games. Board games. Video games. Tabletop role-playing games. Video games. And now for Pixels and Tokens, where we talk about all kinds of gaming. But mostly video games.
Pixels and Tokens brought to you by the mute button.
One of these days, we will talk about something other than video games. I want to play a not video game at some point. That is a priority in my life. To not
break out the fucking Monopoly board. I don't care. Just something that's not a video game.
I've got Klingon Monopoly right over there. We can just go do it. Kapla.
Does that require like death?
Blood wine.
Every time you come around the board, you gotta slash your palm and drip it into the center of the board.
Anyway, hi, welcome to Pixels and Tokens, where we talk about gaming, and I'm going to let JB talk because I've been talking a lot. So JB has been playing Avowed.
So I did not have this on my bingo card. Andrew, I think the last podcast talked about Avowed, and I'm like, oh yeah, that's the thing with the skeleton with the mushrooms. And I hadn't paid any attention to it prior to it releasing, and then I paid a very little bit of attention to it after releasing, and I just on a whim grabbed it because I had just finished 100%ing the base Indiana Jones game, and I'm like, you know what, I want another single player experience, and I fired it up, and I got into it, and I'm like, oh, so this is straight Oblivion, like Elder Scrolls Oblivion. And then I got 3 steps into the game, and I'm like, okay, no, this is Oblivion, but what if I actually gave a shit about Oblivion?
That's Obsidian, baby.
It has got story. It has got hooks for days.
Did you play Fallout
None of
New
the
Vegas?
So I did play New Vegas. I'm a Fallout head. If you could see all the Fallout stuff over my head, there's a lot.
Yeah.
I did play New Vegas, and I liked New Vegas, but I didn't fuck with their Pillars of Eternity at all, like any of that stuff. And so it's very much the Oblivion. But what if there's an actual story that's trying to pull you through it, as opposed to the king is dead. You came out of sewer, and now there is 600 kilometers of wilderness with no real HUD telling you what to do.
Do whatever you want.
It's a crafted experience. They have areas. They don't have like this gigantic map, but there's these big areas that you're in, and there's always the carrot of the story in front of you, but there's also enough compelling things around it that you want to do. They're like straight up bounties. I've got the gun I have used since the first area from one of the bounties, and you can straight upgrade that gun to legendary status. Like, they will let you use the equipment you like throughout the entire game. You're never forced to throw something out because you've got something better. You can switch it for something better, or you can use materials to make the gun that you like, or the weapon, or the bow, or whatever, as good as it can get. It's really impressive how they really let you do whatever you want with the classes and the weapons. But it's a great story. It pulls you through. I've just gotten to the last area. I believe.
Oh, so you haven't finished it yet.
No, I'm close to the end, but the problem is, I think 2 days ago, I went back to the starting area, and I just started going everywhere, trying to figure, like, just seeing what I kind of bypassed.
Yeah.
And there's so much stuff. There is so much stuff, and it's good. I haven't come across anything I'm like, okay, I could have skipped that. It's all adding to this world. And the context lore system they've added, like, they throw you into Pillars of Exile. But anytime there's a green highlighted word, you can press X on the controller and it'll bring up a context of everything that came up in this conversation, telling you this is what Adra is, and this is what the wheel is, and this is what these
other
deities
games
are.
that I've played have done that, and it's been very helpful. It's been good. It's been good. I wish a lot of games did that.
They don't talk to you like you're an idiot, explaining to you how the world that you're supposed to exist in works. Yeah. But you can pull up this context on any
as you
conversation.
know, John, as a member of the Wheelhouse, you should know that.
So you can actually say, okay, when they're talking about the wheel, they're talking about when you die, your soul goes into this karmic wheel to get reincarnated, and they tell you all about these things that are part of this.
Warframe devs.
Oh, I mean, if anything could really use it. But it's so good because it keeps you in the story, but also gives you context to what the fuck these people are talking about. Like, if somebody just starts jabbering about Wodaka and you're like, the fuck, yeah, okay, whatever, how am I supposed to answer this? Then you see Wodaka is one of the deities in charge of these, because it's not even just the deity of, like, avarice. It's like of feeling slightly bad about, kicking a puppy, and this and this and this. Like, there's a whole swath of things they're in charge of. It's very good.
I think that you can. It's about scope, right? You can do that kind of thing when you limit your scope to this thing.
The director has talked about that, like them not having 400-person teams, and working within a budget. They this is the first game they started after Microsoft bought them,
right?
And they didn't do we have infinite money, let's just throw everything at it. They kept their scope tight, they kept their budget tight, and they wanted to make sure they got the best experience they could get for this thing, because they cast a big net. They were like, it's going to be like Destiny meets Skyrim, it's going to have multiplayer, it's going to do this, and they found it didn't work. The fun wasn't there, and when they restricted it, they were able to make it very compelling.
This isn't one of the ones that was developed for live service, was it? Or was I think it
they
was.
They started it as it was going to be a multiplayer kind of live service game, and then they scaled it back to a single player RPG experience, and it is much better for it.
I see that they've released an update just today or yesterday, where they're giving a few more talent points, which I guess was they're a little stingy about.
Wow, that's why I had 4 waiting for me when I logged in yesterday.
Yeah, exactly. Now that when you hit 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 30, they give you an additional talent point. So
that's nice,
gives you
because
a little more flexibility.
It was a little tight, but I mean, you can, the way they let you work through these trees, you can really, like, I've been really working on my range damage and crits, and so now I'm doing big damage from a distance.
What's your character's attack system?
It's an arquebus, which is a muzzle loading rifle, and that's my distant. Like starting it off, and if I'm well enough placed that things can't get to me, I just use that the entire fight. And if things get close, it goes to a flintlock pistol and a mace.
Oh, so you're just and a mace. Okay.
Yeah.
So you're mostly guns with a mace for close combat.
Yes. So
it rewards you for that. I mean, you want to be a wizard? Go ahead, go ham. We got you covered.
My pistol mace both stack stun huge, so like I can, while my pistol's reloading, I can whack something twice with my mace, really bring up the stun, and then once some of the stun bar on an enemy is filled, you get a kind of an execution shot with your gun that does huge damage. So I can kind of stun lock bigger enemies and do these big chunks of damage. So I let my party deal with like the trash, and I'll run into the big bar, and I'll try to get them stunned as much as possible, unless there's a healer. Every so often there's a healer, and you need to kill those motherfuckers fast, because
always kill the healer
have no
first.
downtime, it seems.
That's the lesson.
It's a solid game. It's not trying to be the best game of all time. It's just trying to be a good, solid RPG. Tell you a good story. It's set in a world that's already established that you don't even have to be a part of. It's just a great avatar for what the industry needs to move towards. Is just give us some good, solid single-player experiences that we can throw 40, 50 hours into and move the fuck on.
I'm very inclined to go and try Path of Exile and the Deadlands, Deadlands.
The Pillars of Eternity, you mean?
Pillars of Eternity 1 and 2, yes, that's right.
Yeah, Deadfire, I think is the other
Deadfire.
But yeah, they're just solid RPGs. Again, they're
in that Baldur's Gate tradition.
Yeah.
I'm at like 24 to 30 hours in the game, and I'm approaching the end. I'm kind of pumping the brakes so I don't go straight for it, because I want to get more of the experience.
Yeah.
But they're already talking about more set in this area.
Sure.
And I'm really hoping they do add a DLC or something, an expansion of some sort.
Or just make another fucking game in that world. You know, I mean, they've got this is the thing that's always killed me, is that you've got the game, you've got the engine, you've got the assets. You don't have to even do DLC. Just do another game in that world, and it won't take you as long to develop because you've already got all the hard stuff done. All you got to do is get the writers to do their fucking job, come up with a fun story, few new characters, and have another game in a year. I mean, this is all we've ever asked for. It's just some good experiences. And you don't have to take 6 fucking years to develop these games. You don't need a new engine every time. You know, they can have it one extra area of the game. I just, you know, it seems simplistic, but this is a great example of where the industry needs to go.
Between Avowed and Indiana Jones and the Great Circle, the best single player experiences I've had this last 5 years are on Game Pass. It's crazy.
No, it's great.
That's real good.
Yeah, no, it's really, I highly recommend, if you have Xbox or Game Pass or whatever,
and it
try
still kills
Avowed.
me that this Game Pass is still a great friggin' deal. You know, and this is a full ass game that would normally cost you $60, and boom. On that note, PS Plus just announced that Dragon Age Veilguard is going to be on this month.
Yeah.
So if you have a PS Plus account, here you go. Enjoy.
I
highly recommend it.
That's, you know, I have complex feelings around the whole Game Pass thing, because it's like, okay, here's the situation that I'm facing, and this is strictly a me problem. Let me clarify this. I'm not saying this is like the way things are, but when it comes to Game Pass. So yes, I own an Xbox. I still have an Xbox Series X, and because I have a large library that I own under Xbox, so it would be foolish of me to not have an Xbox Series X or something that I can play my Xbox games on. But when it comes to Game Pass, all of these games are locked behind Game Pass Ultimate. That's the thing. Now, because I'm a Linux gamer, of course, none of the PC games are available to me. I cannot, there is no way, other than streaming over Microsoft Edge, there is no way of me playing the PC games on Game Pass Ultimate. So if I were to want to play, now, I know Jamie's been having a great time with Indiana Jones. That's wonderful. I'm not an Indiana Jones fan, so I'm not particularly interested in playing the Indiana Jones game.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I like actual archaeology. I'm sorry.
What kind of sick fuck doesn't like Indiana Jones?
Look, you don't want to get me started on Indiana Jones and anime. Those are the two things that will lose me friendships.
You belong in a museum.
So because I'm not necessarily interested in playing that, in order for me to play Avowed, which I am interested in, I would have to play it on my Xbox Series X. I would either have to buy it outright, which I straight up can't afford at the time, or I would have to pay for at least a month of Xbox Game Pass Ultimate, most of which I can't use, right? So I'm like, I really, like, how much do I want to play this? That is the question that I'm kind of facing. It's like, it's not the kind of game I'm interested in at the moment. And I'm super happy that other people are having a great time with it, and it's got great buzz, and I'm happy that it exists. It's just not in my headspace at the current time, right? So it's like, again, strictly a me problem because I'm a Linux guy. If I was a Windows guy, there would be no problem. Like, I would just get Game Pass Ultimate, and the only reason I would get Game Pass Ultimate right now is if we were all playing, like something on Xbox or something that could be multiplayer that would require Game Pass Ultimate right now. That's fine. That's cool. But at the moment, it's just the value proposition for me personally just isn't there, right? It just doesn't exist.
I will say they've recently added some very interesting titles. Citizen Sleeper 2, Starward Vector. Citizen Sleeper was a very cool game that I didn't play, but it's kind of a cyberpunk title worth looking into. And they just added Warhammer 40,000 Rogue Trader, which is a very well-regarded RPG in the Warhammer 40K universe. So those alone
that I have heard good buzz about, yeah.
So I'm just saying, there's more titles out there.
Yeah, but that's the thing. The fact that it didn't used to be like that. There used to be a Game Pass tier that was like you got the day one releases on Series X.
Sure.
And you didn't have to do the PC version as well, right?
Yeah.
That is the thing that's stopping me, is that, like, I can't play any of the PC games. I don't have the operating system that will let me play the PC games. So it's like at least a quarter of the value of this is something that I can't use, right? So it's like,
but again, for $20 you could play Avowed to completion.
Yeah, that's true. That is absolutely true. And this is where it's really the me problem, in that I don't like games that end. This is as you know from, like, look at my top 5 list. It's like it's all long-term open world big forever games. I want the forever game. I have always wanted the forever game. I am only interested in the forever game. That is absolutely and strictly a me problem. That is just where my head is at. That is what I want. I want the world that I can inhabit and live in. I don't want a game I like to end ever. That's me, though. That's again, that's a problem. So the fact that I know this game has a beginning and an end, that is an automatic turnoff for me. When I know that this game will, like, there will be a point where I can't do anything more, when I'm done, when the credits have rolled,
just play another game.
I don't have any emotional investment anymore. It's disposable at that point. I don't care. So if I don't care, I don't want to spend money on it, right? That is where I'm at. But again, this is just strictly a me problem. This is why I'm not like trying to be preachy about this and going like, oh, well, you shouldn't like this because I don't like it. Of course not. I'm super happy that JB is enjoying Avowed. I'm really pleased. It's got great buzz. I'm happy that like a developer has got this kind of traction out of a game like this. And as Andrew said quite correctly, this is where the industry needs to go. Obviously, the live service model has failed. Like, there's no doubt about that. It is a dead end. It is exploitive at the best. But I just can't get emotionally invested in those kind of things. Like, I
will say
care about
Warhammer
them.
40k Darktide is on Steam standard or
Darktide.
Game Pass standard.
Okay.
Darktide is their 4-player co-ops at the 40k.
Oh, right, like Vermintide, like that kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you guys wanted to play stuff, I will happily pay the $20 a month or whatever it is. If you guys want to get in and play stuff, I'm there. That is the value proposition for me, is hanging out with my friends, right?
That's fair.
That's cool. But if it's just to play Avowed, no, I'm sorry, that's not enough for me. So
Might be worth
anyway,
dipping our toe
now
into
that
Darktide at some point.
now that I've taken the fucking steam out of JV's wonderful review of Avowed, look, I'm sure Avowed is great. I actually watched a review of it to kind of like go, okay, is this for me? Is this like, do I want to play this? Because it seems like it's in my wheelhouse. Maybe this would be a thing. And it's just that. The fact that the scope is limited is what you guys like about it. The fact that the scope is limited is what I don't like about it. That is the thing. That is the fundamental. And again, I'm out of fucking step with the universe. Like that is the lesson. I am the fucking outlier always. Like, that is the whole thing. So, speaking of that, I don't know how to segue to this. This is hard. Why did I even go here? 2.5 martinis. That's why I went here. Anyway, because this is related to the game that I am playing forever and ever, and you all know what that is, i.e. Warframe. I have really become conscious of like, I am enjoying Warframe so much that I don't want to burn out on it. Right? Like that is a danger. Of course, everybody who's played a forever game like that knows that you can get to a point where it's just like, oh, this is too much. I don't know what's left. What am I supposed to do? There's just so much of it. There's a huge investment that is required for this game. I don't know if I have it in me. What do I do? And when a game starts occupying so much of your free time like that, you kind of start to question, right? Like, is this worth it? So I've started looking around going, okay, I like this enough and I don't want to start not liking it, that I need some kind of heat sink, right? I need some other thing to distract my attention. There's more than this game, and I want to be consistently aware that there's more than this game. So I started looking around for other things to play as well as Warframe that will engage me and keep my attention. I have been sorely tempted by Monster Hunter Wilds, strictly because it is so much in the news right now. Obviously, it's the hot thing currently. Have y'all ever done the Monster Hunter thing? Have you? No?
I've bounced off it. I haven't gotten into it.
I've been exactly the same way. I want to love Monster Hunter. I love the concept of Monster Hunter. But every time I've tried to play, I have played Wilds and Rise are the two that I own on multiple platforms. But I've tried. I have so tried. And I kind of got there with, World. Monster Hunter World and Rise. Monster Hunter World is the one that I spent the most time in. And I kind of got there, but there's so much. It's there's nothing intuitive about the Monster Hunter interface. It's so unbelievably bloated and complex that it's like, I just want to get out there and hunt the monsters. It's called Monster Hunter. I should just go hunt monsters, but there's so many things in your way of like being able to do that. And apparently Monster Hunter Wilds is really no different. It's all that. It's all the same as the previous one. So I've been kind of trying to avoid buying Monster Hunter Wilds. That's the setup for where we're going. Because then I realized one of the influences on Monster Hunter as a series was the person who worked on, of course, the game I have talked about at length, Dragon's Dogma. And I realized that, you know what? I never actually completed my second playthrough of Dragon's Dogma 2. I just kind of stopped and got distracted by other things. What if I checked it out again? What if I saw where we were at with that? So that's kind of what I've done now. The creative director of Dragon's Dogma has apparently left the company and has gone other places to do other things. So I don't think we're ever going to get like an expansion for Dragon's Dogma 2 or anything like that. I think the game has basically been, in terms of content, untouched since I last played it. There have been a number of technical improvements. There have been quite a lot, particularly on console, of frame rate improvements and things like that. So they've done some work, but I don't think we're ever going to see any more Dragon's Dogma 2. That being said, because I did things like there's 2 vocations I never did. There are whole quest lines I never touched, things like that. And because of the nature of the world, that the fact that the whole game world is cyclical, and that you can, like, the way that New Game Plus is handled is you can just like start the whole cycle again and go around and do it again and again and again. I never got any end game gear or armor or weapons or anything like that. It's like, you know what? I could actually poke my head into Dragon's Dogma 2 and see where we're at with that. Pick up my old game again. So that's what I started doing on PS5, is I've gone back to Dragon's Dogma 2, and wow, I've forgotten how good that thing is. Like, oh my god. I just, the kind of procedural stuff that happens, and all I'm doing right now with my character and the pawns that I had already, like, I'm trying to remember how to play the damn thing. So I'm working on a profession. I'm working on the warrior profession right now that I hadn't leveled at all before. So all I'm doing is I'm just wandering around looking for monsters to kill. I'm just grinding, literally. And all of the I posted a thing on the Discord the other day of like a fucking dragon, or Drake, the minor dragon, like shows up in the middle of the night as I'm wandering around randomly in the open world. It was one of those like storytelling moments that's like a thing happens randomly in the open world that isn't a scripted event or anything like that. It's just because of the mechanics of how the game world works that is so memorable and impactful and like just a cool fucking thing that happens. I'm delighted. Once again, Dragon's Dogma has pulled me back in, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, I'm back in it. This is really cool. So yeah, I'm going through Dragon's Dogma 2 again as a heat sink to try and like play something that isn't Warframe for a change, and it's actually working out really well. So that's where we are with Dragon's Dogma 2.
I think it's important to have another game to play.
It really, and you know what? That is kind of the thing, as like, you know, I've been in the position with many games so far of like, okay, this is the game I play. This is it. This is the only game I play. And it's like, that's actually fine. I don't really have a big problem with that, but I think it's helpful to also keep your awareness on other things, and that will help you appreciate the forever game more, right? Like, I haven't appreciated Warframe less because I'm playing Dragon's Dogma 2. If anything, I'm appreciating what it does more, but I'm also not getting burned out on it because I have something else to go to. And it is something else that is speaking to me. And this is, again, addressing the thing we were just talking about, where it's like the forever game. Well, the nature of Dragon's Dogma 2 is cyclical. So if I get to the end game point and I start getting the end game gear, well, I can just decide to go around the loop again, right? Like, they're really kind of built into the structure of the game world. There isn't necessarily an end point. And I freaking love that. That is the best. I can always go back to this world. That is, for me personally, the best. This is always a living world. I can always, at any point, go back there, and there will be stuff happening, and there will be monsters to kill, and there will be things to explore, and chests to open, and pawns to talk to, and there will always be something going on. And I absolutely love the feeling of an open, living world. That is the thing that I want most of any video game. And this does that, despite the fact that the development is basically done. They're gone. Nobody's doing this. But because of the procedural systems that exist within the game, it is still alive. It is still there and available to you at any point. So that's really cool. So that's where I am currently in my gaming journey, as it were, with things other than Warframe.
Nice.
But so that's the good news. The bad news is something called Star Wars Hunters apparently doesn't exist anymore.
I had to look this up because I'd never heard of it before.
It was the free to play mobile shooter.
I was actually playing. I was doing a bit. I did know what this was, and I had actually thought about playing it for a second.
I think we mentioned it at some point. It was a perfect example of things that are wrong with the game industry. And
apparently the Farmville people made it.
Yeah, they decided to put a bullet in it because, oops.
Which is really weird because it had good buzz. Like, if I remember correctly, people were having fun with it. Like, I remember people streaming.
That's probably why they killed it. People want to play it? Never mind. Anyway, it's going to remain playable until October 1st. And then they shut it down.
Oh, great. Oh, that's a long tail, man. What are you doing?
They're still selling shit for it, which is funny.
Yeah, they're still extract as much milk from the cow as possible.
We will rerun events and shop bundles from the season. The ranked season will be extended. And then in April, the final content update will be released, and for free, and in-game purchases will be disabled. So you can still spend money on it until April 15th. Sure. Anyway, it's just another free-to-play mobile game that the developer decided wasn't worth their time anymore.
What I remember
the money they were putting into it.
Seeing about it was everybody saying they should do a PC port. Put this on PC because it's fun. It's genuinely fun. It's good. This could have been like a Marvel's Rival situation. Like but
it's still a perfect example of free to play at its worst, where you open the game up and the first thing you see is an ad for the guy you don't have.
Yeah,
just basic shit like that.
Yeah.
So it was never gonna
weaponized FOMO.
Yep, and it's fine. It's good that it's dying because it was never. It was a fun idea that was ruined by the normal corporate bullshit.
What a surprise. Speaking of
I was just gonna say for myself, I mean, I dipped my toe back into Destiny. Because they're still running the new season, the Heresy storyline.
Put this in the show notes, man. What are you doing?
I wasn't sure if I was going to mention it, but it's been a very good episode.
Okay,
it took us back to the Dreadnought. They added some cool game modes, which are good. They're still telling stories, which are I haven't watched this Act 2 start yet. I guess there's more insanity. But one of the interesting things I want to mention is that the actors' strike has finally hit Destiny.
Oh,
so two of the major characters that were written into this season they can't perform because of the strike. And it's weird. The actress who plays Sloane obviously did some of the work. Basically, the cutscene stuff she seems to have done, but any of the in-game elements, they just put up the subtitles for it. So they at the very least, they said, we're not going to do AI versions or recast the characters.
Right, that's good.
Because of respect for the strike.
Thank you at least for that.
Right. So they're just putting the words up, and it's very odd because the words will go up and then Drifter will say, "What are you trying to tell me?" And then the text will just keep going. So it's a little, you have to be paying attention to the text because it can't just wash over you as the story's there. So it's been that's been odd, but with Destiny Rising, which is the mobile game that they released, they did the alpha test a couple months ago. Some of the performances in that were AI because they hadn't cast actors yet for it, so they weren't intending to use it permanently, but they were very clear about when a performance was AI, and it was pretty fucking obvious too. But so to their credit, they did not use AI to recreate the characters and pretend like nothing's happening. But that's one of the reasons we haven't heard Ghost, is because Nolan North, who does the voice of Ghost, is one of the foremost voice actors and that's out there. So they've just completely removed any interactions with Ghost, and they're just trying to be cute about it. But like I said, it's weird how some of the performances were recorded and then they couldn't get more for whatever reason. So they're definitely being affected by it. But I was also just reading about they're still having a lot of trouble at the negotiation table for the AI stuff because the studios are still trying to put in giant fucking loopholes so that they can use AI when they feel like it's necessary,
which will
be
bad all the time.
Well, this is it.
Sony demoing AI Aloy even more tone deaf.
Absolutely,
the background of it.
Ashley,
I'm not going to
Ashley,
defend that, but it was. I think that was a technical demo. I mean, obviously, they're still saying we can go in this direction.
But what are you demoing?
It's a technical demo that you're showing off while the voice actors are on strike.
Yeah.
So
read the fucking room. Guys.
We could do this if we wanted to, but we're not going to.
And there's stuff between them. Am I supposed to be paying attention to that, or?
Yeah. And also, I didn't see the original video that they posted before it was pulled down, but just the GIF of it, the mouth is just going insane. You know, it just looks bad. And thankfully,
where it's like, no, this is a nightmare. This is straight up nightmare shit.
Thankfully, the gaming community is behind the voice actors, and it's hard for people like us to put our money where our mouth is in terms of these games.
Dear billionaires, nobody wants this shit.
Yeah.
Can you get that between your fucking ears? Nobody wants this shit.
But it's so attractive to them to not have to hire voice actors anymore. Of course it is. And it's nearly impossible to overcome that. So hopefully they get their shit together soon. But they are not dicking around with the fight, because they recognize this is death. This is death for voice acting, and they're fighting for their lives here. And the studios really just can't hear it. So we'll see. But anyway, it was interesting to have an actual game, a major game, get impacted by it. Because games like Call of Duty, they're just recasting. They don't give a fuck. They're just bringing in non-union actors to do the voices. Sure. They're not doing AI, but the characters they've created in that world are so paper thin and worthless that you wouldn't be able to tell that they recast anyway. So, you know, it's just interesting. But regardless, like I say, I am not back in. I am basically enjoying the new story mode and I'm going through the beats.
You check.
And I'm getting what I need out of it. And Jamie, I know you're not out, but I mean, you should still be able to enjoy it. Just like I said, it's on the Dreadnought. It's cool just sticking around the Dreadnought. You can solo most of the new content. We can still mess around with it, but there's still a story being told, and then it's over. I mean, once Act 3 comes out for this episode, then the next iteration of Destiny is Frontiers, which still hasn't been officially announced. They've talked about it a lot, but I don't think there's anything there that's going to get us back playing it in nearly as much as we used to. Because in the end, you're still playing the same shit over and over again. You're still grinding out the same strikes, even now. So they're doing the Guardian games right now, and they have changed it up. But the Guardian games playlist now is basically Supremacy for PvP and a boss rush mode, which is new. It's something they haven't done before, but you run the boss rush mode where it just gives you the five boss encounters, and then they rotate them every day, and that's what they're using as the method for getting points for the Guardian games. So at least they've changed it up a little bit.
I haven't uninstalled it, but I've thought about it.
Because you don't have to level up to be able to play the story.
Fire it up maybe just to see the Dreadnought, but the thought of going in to do the same event 5 times,
yep,
and then wait for the next story beat, and then do that event 5 times, and then wait for the story beat, just doesn't seem like a thing that I'm a treadmill that I'm really enticed for.
Totally understand, but like I said, at least we're into Act 2 now, so all of Act 1 is playable. It involves very little repetition. The Nether, which is the event that takes place on the Dreadnought, is solid. It's worth playing just because at least it's something relatably fresh. It's not totally fresh, but it's new stuff in there, and you can play it a bit and go, "This is fun. I'm done." I'm not going to grind for god rolls and the new weapons. The weapons are great, but I just don't care anymore about that.
I'm going to wait till Sports Grandma is done at the minimum.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that.
So there is actually a segue here, because one of the things we're going to do the Warframe check-in. Here we are. This is, of course, where we're going to end. But this is related to what you were just saying, because one of the things about Warframe is that, like, it is extremely repetitive. Like, you will be playing the same missions over and over and over and over again. And for some reason, that doesn't bother me. Like, in the same way that it would in a different game. And I don't quite understand why. And there's something about how they do. I think maybe it's partly the build crafting in it, because it's so reliant on the build crafting, on the theory crafting of how you do your builds and the tweaking of your builds, that kind of the forum in which you exercise your powers is secondary to the actual building of the character itself, right? So it's like all of the missions are just an arena in which you can practice the thing you have in theory crafted, right? That is...
Well, you're not going for guns.
True.
Because an Archiplasmor is an Archiplasmor.
Yes.
You're going for mods.
Yeah.
You're going for Warframe parts. Destiny, all you have is guns.
Gotcha.
All you have is guns. Like, once you have a single artifice piece of armor that covers most of what your builds could be, you do not need to worry about armor again.
Right.
All you're going for is guns. And then you have a vault full of 600 guns, 90% of which you've never fired, but this one has 2 perks that are good, another perk that's okay, and the third perk which is crap. But at some point, maybe I will come up with a throwing knife thing where I'll need to ignite someone in a certain way, but I won't be able to use the one pistol I have that ignites people that I have 20,000 kills on. Maybe I'll need this grenade launcher that I have 1 kill with.
All right.
It's not a game, it's a mental illness.
I think what you're describing...
It's hoarding, and there's no real use for most of what you're hoarding. Like, the treadmill is to get guns, but you have so many guns that you've never shot. why are you on this treadmill?
I think it's a bit of flexibility, right? Like it's the flexibility that Warframe gives you, where there's just like, at this point, literally 60, different Warframes, and no exaggeration, hundreds of different weapons.
But if you're doing sentient hunts, you want this kind of damage on your gun, so you need the mods to help do this kind of damage.
But it's not
like this gun, it changes fundamentally between these 6 drops that you've got.
I mean, there's a meta. Don't get me wrong. There is an absolute meta.
100%, but there's also a lot more playing within that framework.
Yeah, there's a
and
scope.
What you're collecting is the modifiers for it. Like it's in Destiny, it'd be like, I got a single gun, and now what I'm grinding for are perks to put in the gun to make it do different things.
Here's a really good example, because one of the things that I realized that I'm starting to enjoy in Warframe is I want to play frames, more frames than weapons, but occasionally weapons that specifically aren't the meta. Right? Like, I want to play like the frames that nobody plays.
You can make anything work in Warframe.
Like, there are some Warframes that are just so strong. If you play this build with this weapon, you will fucking nuke Steel Path, all that kind of thing. And it's like,
there is so much content in Destiny that if you are not playing the Razor's Edge meta, you aren't going to complete it. Like, there are dungeons that we haven't completed because we can't pass damage thresholds.
I'm playing Komai, okay, who is supposedly one of the lesser, like the C tier frames, and I am owning Steel Path because I found like one streamer who was like, you know what, Komai is actually good. Here's how you can build Komai to be good. And I followed her guide, and I'm like, oh no, okay, I get this and this and this, and I did it, and it's like, oh shit. You found a way. You found a way to do this, and it's like, I guess that's it. It puts agency in the hands of the players in a way that other games don't, right?
Yeah.
I guess maybe that's at least part of why it's so engaging and why people keep staying with it, right?
It also seems so low ebb with Bungie after all the layoffs and after all of the getting gutted to fund Sony's live stream domination or live service domination, which has ended up getting shit canned and people fired. It's such a trough right now for me of just, I could go in, I know there'll be a event that you have to run 4 times, possibly 5 times, and then you have to wait, and then you'll do the next thing, and then you'll wait. And it after the last thing where we were doing the potions, I was just, I couldn't anymore. It was just so much doing the same thing over and over again, and
it's a 10-year-old game.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Warframe is, but you're coming at it fresh. But it's still...
But it's also
any
a 12-year-old game.
Like, stale after a while. But it's like, I'm just saying, there's only so much you can do in these worlds.
Yeah. No, but this is the funny thing. Is like, I literally today had exactly that experience that Jamie is describing. I was doing Netra Cells. Netra Cells are kind of a high-end game mode, and you can do them... You have like 5 charges per week. You can do 5 Netra Cells a week. And then you're done, and it's to farm certain high-end resources and so whatever. But it's like, it was a pleasure. It's like, okay, I'm gonna do my 5 things, and I'm good. And now I'm excited to do the next 5 things. Like, there's a lack of weariness. I think it is a grind. It is a treadmill, but you enjoy the treadmill. I don't know. Like, what is the difference? Like, it's hard for me to parse these things because
they're fundamentally different games. Whereas Destiny, the random rolls is what kills me, because there's one gun out there. It's so good, but you can't have it because the rolls are so thin. There's so many perks in these different slots. The chance of you getting it is nil.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it is the agency thing, right?
You can focus on this.
With Warframe, once you've unlocked a gun, You now put mods in it to make it do what you want to do. You make it shoot faster. You make it reload faster. You make it do 16 different types of damage. You're now working on leveling the gun up. Whereas once I've crafted a gun, or once I've gotten a gun, once I've done a minimum amount of shooting to get it to a certain point, I don't give a shit about anything that's happening in the gun. I'm just shooting.
That's the fascinating thing about Destiny, where they incorporated crafting. That was a massive step in their part when they did that.
It felt good because you could have guns that were competitive in multiple areas. But then they're like,
you could make the god roll based on what you want.
Everyone's just getting the guns they want. We can't have that, so now you can't make any of the seasonal guns. And
That's it. And ever since they
had it.
Yeah, ever since Final Shape, I think they've just taken craftable. The new seasonal weapons are not craftable. They wanted people to go back to the
endless
grind for the god rolls. And you know what? That was a choice, and we have chosen not to partake in that.
I think that may be it, though. I think that may be the difference is the level of agency that it gives people. That Warframe wants the players to figure the shit out, and it's trying to meet the things that the players are doing rather than guide the things that the players are doing. Right? I think maybe that might be at least part of what the difference is. It's weird. Anyway, I'm still the TLDR is I'm still really, really enjoying Warframe. It's awesome.
Good.
Still,
it is so funny though that you embraced it at the same time as Cross, noted Destiny streamer, embraced it. He loves the shit out of it.
Well, there's
now.
a lot of talk in the community right now about there was an interview with Rebecca and Megan recently on Tactical Potato, who is the Irish chap that I linked to on our Discord a while ago, who did the lore accurate Banshee build that I have based my Banshee on, FYI. And I fucking love my Banshee. Who is a really old Warframe streamer and a noted. Rebecca in the last dev stream actually tried to do his accent and got it really wrong, and he used that as the introduction to one of his next videos about how bad her imitation of his accent was. But he recently did an interview with Rebecca and Megan about basically where we're at with Warframe and what's going on, and that's kind of one of the things they talked about was there's been this new influx of players from other games. Tactical Potato did in fact mention Destiny 2 as being one of the sources, and Rebecca was saying, well, this is one of the things we want to do, and one of the reasons why in the upcoming update that's happening next week is that they're streamlining the new player experience strictly because they never want to. She said there's a seesaw that they talk about, and it's like if we add something onto the end game, we have to add something onto the new player to balance that out. So with at some point we have to let the new players come in and have an easier experience of getting to the end game instead of just catering to the end game players. And I think that's a really healthy position to be in. They 100%. Recognize that there's this new influx of players, and that's really cool. So right now, this weekend, there is a double affinity. They're doing the 12-year celebration experience over the next few weeks. So this weekend is a double affinity weekend, which is the equivalent of XP. So I'm going to be leveling up some Warframes. I just got Nidus, FYI, Jamie. I just got Nidus and Nidus Prime. So I've got one to feed to the Helminth and one I'm going to keep.
Yes. Excellent.
So I'll be leveling up my Nidus, so I will finally see what you see in Nidus.
Join me in the infested side.
I've never played Nidus before. I have no idea how to play Nidus, so I'll be figuring that
into
shit
the
out.
Helminth.
I will, believe me. There'll be a lot of that. So it's all very cool. I'm still hopefully going to go to TennoCon this summer. So it's good.
Amazing.
Everything continues to be good, and it's weird that it continues to be good, but I'm just going to embrace it and go with it.
Yeah.
And There we are. So, okay, I think that will probably do it. Let me check the time, and yep, we're good. We've more than hit time.
Yay, we get paid.
Do we? Oh, good. I
Huzzah.
hope I would like to get paid. That would be awesome. Okay. If we've gone this far and Audacity hasn't crashed yet, I mean, maybe we're good.
Cross your fingers, listeners that will know whether or not it worked, because it'll be listening to
I'll
it.
put it in the show notes whether Audacity crashed or not. Okay. Thank you, JB. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Kevin.
Thank you, listeners. OperationPuppet.com for all the links, as always. And let me make
Buy
sure my
Canadian.
fingers on definitely buy Canadian. Oh my God, are you kidding? Yes, buy Canadian, even if you're not
Buy Canadian puppets.
Yeah.
Definitely buy Canadian puppets. Okay. Thank you, everybody, and we will catch you next time.
You have been listening to Pixels and Puppets, the Operation Puppet podcast. Visit www.operationpuppet.com for all our links. Tell your friends, give us a rating wherever you get your podcasts, and join us again, because nothing is more entertaining than aging nerds giving their opinions on the internet.